All right. So tonight we're going to talk about the business plan, and we're going to talk more so along the lines of maybe getting out of the business, maybe selling a portion of our business, because every single seminar that I go to, that I go face to face and talk with you guys, you professional landscapers, guess what is the big topic of discussion? What is everybody wanting to do nowadays?
Pack it in.
Do what, Mark?
Pack it in.
Pack it in. They are done. Yes, we're all getting burnt out. And I don't know, I call it mid-season burnout, but I think I've been burnt out for, I don't know, probably since April. It's, I don't know, something about this year. I don't know. I guess where we had decent snow and we worked through that, and we finished our last Christmas takedown in late March. And so we had a very, very busy winter, and we didn't really have a chance to kind of catch our breath. But everywhere I'm going, people are ready to get out. They're ready to sell their business. They're ready to retire. And so many of you guys have already done it. People that I've known for a long time, guys that I looked up to and, you know, were my mentors, but besides my father, have already done that. And it's kind of sad seeing some of these old timers leave because they had so much experience, and they were able to do it because they did effective planning. And I've met with our accountant and meet with him probably more so than I want to, but he's a great guy. I love him to death. And he's in his late 70s, and it scares me when he is going to pack it in and retire. And he says, as long as I can still move and get around, he said, I'll be doing this, because he said, I love meeting with you guys. But he has come up with a plan that he thinks would be very beneficial for us, and maybe beneficial for some of you. And when I've presented this to other classes, some people have already started implementing this sort of a business plan. Now, let's kind of go back and first talk about a business plan. A business plan is basically, there's the short plan, there's the long plan. And anytime that you're starting a new business, whether you're starting a burger franchise, or you're starting a lawn care business, or you're in the landscaping business and you wanted to start a fertility division, you need to kind of plan for it. And meeting with my accountant, who has stated, Eric, every single one of your divisions, let's call them, needs to be their own separate entity. And people freak out when they hear this, but trust me, there are landscape contractors just like us that I talk to all across North Carolina have already started doing this. And there's a particular guy in Charlotte that's really implemented this and took it to the extreme. And people will question him. They're like, is this too much paperwork? And it does sound like a lot of paperwork up front, but in the long run, it is definitely well worth it. And he is protected 110% on all aspects of his business, because people are so happy these days. And so let's talk about what my accountant has said we need to do. And let's say with my business, we have a Christmas division. We do a ton of Christmas lighting jobs. We like doing lawn care. We like doing installs. And then we have what we call just general landscape maintenance. So let's say we've got four crews, 4 divisions, whatever we want to call it. And he's told us to set up each one of these as a separate entity. I like the fact, but then I'm sitting here thinking, well, that's a lot of paperwork. That's a lot of more tax returns. That's a lot of more paperwork. I mean, to an extent, it is. He's also asked us if we would take all of our equipment and bring them under one umbrella of an LLC or something like an S corporation. He's also wanted us to bring our employees in-house underneath one umbrella as an employee leasing agency. So if we've got 4 divisions and then he wants us to separate our equipment and our employees, we've really got 6 companies underneath the main company. Why in the world would we want to do that? Can anybody guess?
Not sure.
It's a liability issue, but I would totally disagree with your accountant.
Why is that, David?
So there's some risk reward in moving some of the liability around, and it would make sense. Like if you put your maintenance division in a separate LLC because you wanted to spin it off, that's fine. That would make sense. But unless you're employing employees that are not legal and then leasing them back to the other companies, you're really just doing a lot of paperwork for very minimal protection.
So, but you are saying separating maybe the divisions you agree with, just not doing the employees?
Potentially. I mean, not necessarily. Like we have maintenance and construction under one roof. If the plan is to spin one off, then yes, that it makes sense to go through the paperwork and the hassle.
Yes.
But if you're not spinning them off, it's really, you're not gaining much for the extra work that you got to do.
Okay. And I can see that. And I see what my accountant says. I see both sides. I really do. It does seem like a lot of paperwork, but
Yeah, it's
we
a lot
have
of cost
seen,
too.
it is a lot of costs. But I've also seen a lot of hardships happen from just car wrecks.
Yeah, but that's why you have insurance. You're
That's
already
what we
paying
do.
for your insurance. So a lot of your risk is taken away if you're insured properly.
True. And sometimes the lawyers get even hungrier. And the problem with the green industry, guys, we may have insurance, we may be incorporated, but a lot of us seem to intertwine personal finance and business finance.
Yeah,
That's where we get in trouble.
Right. That's where you have a problem. Like you got to make sure the business is the business and your personal stuff's your personal stuff. If you operate out of your personal residence, then there might be some things you can do there to protect yourself. And if you own a business piece of property, it does make sense to put the property in a separate LLC or S corp if you want, but LLC probably makes more sense.
Yeah.
But having each division, like if you have this teaching division, right, and you're tired of talking to us and you just want to go back to planting trees, then it makes sense to separate it because you're going to spin it off.
Yeah.
But if you're going to keep it all under one roof, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, I can see where you come, and then we do. I mean, Turf Teacher Inc. is its separate entity. It's its own thing. I have Trades Teacher Inc., which I do consulting for general contractors. It's its separate thing. Our landscape business is a separate thing. But we really haven't divided up the sections within the landscape company, which is what he's asking us to do and kind of, talking to us about it. We haven't made that decision yet, but he's given us the horror stories of what has happened. And there's a guy that comes to the Raleigh class who is a very prominent landscape contractor whose employees were involved in an automobile accident. They were actually involved with another landscape company. The vehicles collided. One of his employees died on the scene. The other employee, he said they were my 2 right-hand guys. He said they did, they were the guys that ran my business. He said one guy died at the scene. The other guy was still in intensive care back in January when we did the class. And this was pre-COVID. So, I mean, this was 3 years ago. So they were involved in an accident the day after Thanksgiving. The employee that didn't die was still in intensive care at UNC Chapel Hill. And he said, Eric, the lawyers came in, tooth and nail. They were checking to see if I dotted every I, crossed every T. And he said, luckily, I've been in business long enough. I knew how to do this. And he says, my trucks were leased So they weren't able to come in and grab any of the equipment. And he said, we have insurance. We have to as landscape contractors. We wouldn't be able to have our license if we weren't insured, because we couldn't get our bond if we didn't have insurance. But he said, they stayed at our office digging, trying to find something where we weren't acting as a corporation. And that's so easy to do, is to not act as a corporate entity, because we get very busy. We get very sidetracked. And so, yeah, certain things may happen by accident or whatever. But if they find that, they're going to say that you pierced the corporate veil. And so when your landscape company, the one that actually had the vehicle accident, owns nothing. They can only get what the insurance company does pay, and they can't come after anything else because the landscape company owns nothing. They were leasing their equipment. They were using employees of an employee leasing agency. And he's like, I'm glad I had that set up. I'm glad I had that set up. Is it worth it in the long run? Maybe, maybe not. We're just kind of passing down the information of what I've been told and what we're probably going to do. Because yes, eventually I want to sell off lawn care. And eventually I want to sell the Christmas lights 100%. Get rid of it. I'm getting a little burnt out. I'm getting a little tired. So having these spinoffs will make it 100% easy, because each business has its own set of books. And those companies really don't own, our lawn care equipment. We got fertilizer spreaders and some sprayers. So people aren't really buying that. They're wanting the accounts. And so we can chunk it off and sell it very easily.
For those people that don't want to go through the rigmarole of licensing and going and registering every company entity, you can, most people are using QuickBooks. You can set up separate divisions in QuickBooks.
Oh, yes.
And that's an easy way to keep, and that does make a tremendous amount of expense. So you can see what lines are profitable and what are not profitable and where you have to work on things. That does make incredible sense to do, and it doesn't cost you anything. Exactly.
Yeah. And to really form, an LLC, what's it cost? $250, $300. So it's the cost really isn't prohibiting you from doing it. And it's just a way of doing business. I know guys that are in real estate, landscape contractors who own several rent houses. Instead of having the rental houses underneath an LLC, they've set each rental property up as an LLC. Why would they want to do that?
Yeah, that's the same thing. That's liability.
It's all liability.
Yeah.
If you have a tenant that comes out and slips and falls on the ice and breaks her neck, she's not going to be able to sue the entire company that owns all the assets. She can only sue that house. Do what, John?
I was just what I was thinking, that she didn't do nothing but that one house. What you said, she tried to sue, she couldn't get but one house, not all of them.
Yep.
Yeah,
it is.
I've got rental. We got it separate.
You got each one of them separate?
Well, I don't have but two right now, but no, three, excuse me.
Yeah.
I do not have them separate. No, I do not.
Gotcha.
I need to, but I don't. I'm hoping to get rid of them shortly.
Well, and guys, I do know another guy. Unfortunate, he had a very severe accident. He wasn't injured, but he was a part-timer, and his lawnmower actually picked up a rock and threw it through the windshield and hit a young lady in the face. She is dependent on someone for the rest of her life. And unfortunately, the way he had his business set up, they were able to come in, and he lost a lot of personal assets to actually pay her medical bills. He lost his personal home. He lost his family. His wife left him over the whole thing. And, he was, out there trying to make a few dollars extra for his family. So, when you see the horror stories like that and you hear of people that are trying to do the right thing, still end up getting hurt. We just try to, look at things a little differently, because it takes one bad accident and seriously, you could lose a lot, everything that you've worked hard for. And that is not a cool thing to happen. So, but again, to each their own. Sometimes it'll make sense, sometimes it wouldn't. But that was information that our CPA recommended to us, and I thought I would pass that along prior to actually jumping in to the business plan. And when you guys actually jump into a new section of or new division or a new opportunity that you think of, do you actually do a business plan for it? Do you sit down and write one? You know exactly how much money do you need with materials, the labor, putting a new vehicle into service to actually do this. Do you sit down and do it, or do you just jump in gung-ho, ready to go?
Are you saying down to the penny, or just?
Well, having, pretty close.
Close figure. Yeah. No,
we need to sit down and kind of figure that out. Just like, when we started our Christmas business, we sat down, we figured out how many houses we thought we could do the first year. We figured out the material costs that we would have. What would our investment be on labor? Was it using our existing labor? And, thank goodness we actually had to hire more people to actually do it. We actually got into it to keep everybody busy throughout the year, but we ended up having to hire temporaries to help get us through that seasonal rush. But each section needs to have that business plan. And so with it, we're going to look at the purpose and the objectives of a business plan. We're going to give the rationale for writing or not writing a business plan when starting a new venture. And then we'll explain the concept and process for developing the firm's business model, and then describe the preferred content and format for a business plan. How many actually have wrote a business plan for just anything? Maybe not the green industry. If you were in another business prior to this, how many of you have or haven't? And it's okay. So David has, Mark has, Grant, did you throw your hand up?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. They're fun, aren't they? Not really. But I like using it. And I think the best thing to use it for is number 3 here, a benchmark tool, to actually see where you get at the end of that first year. What did you accomplish? Did you reach your goals? But it helps you plan. And and it's like, let's look at lawn care, for instance. If we're starting a new lawn care business or a division, and we figure out how many new customers we're going to get this year, how much money are we going to invest? Let's say we're going to try to get, just 100 new customers for lawn care. We figure out what our income is going to be from that. We figure out what our marketing cost is going to be for that. Do we need to implement a new truck? Do we need to have that new technician on board? We figure all that up. And then if we're having to borrow money for it, we can actually take that business plan, that tool that we've created, and actually show the bank and actually help us get the loan. And then at the end of the year, we can benchmark it and compare to where we're at. And if it works and we've made money, we can just duplicate it the next year. And it's a plan that we tweak all the time. It's not set in stone. We're going to change it. We're going to figure out what works, what doesn't work, but we at least got to sit down. And so many of us, we don't do this. We jump into the lawn care. We get fired from our jobs. We worked in the factory, and then all of a sudden we're in the lawn care business because it's the easiest industry to jump into. I mean, seriously, we could start one Monday morning and say, hey, I'm going to be a landscaper, or I'm going to be a mowing guy. And by 5 o'clock that afternoon, we've got all of our equipment. We financed it to the hilt, and we could be cutting grass, on a Tuesday morning.
Eric.
Sir.
I was going to ask you about that. One guy said something about it's not really worth separating. Say I got a landscaping business and a lawn care business. It's all one.
Yeah.
But you said, say I separate them. If I decide to separate them into two different corporations or LLC or whatever, wouldn't that be more of a, even though I got, a lot of insurance, but, say I would never hope this happens, but you never hope stuff don't, but you never know, could throw a rock and hit somebody. And say I had them separated, at least they might come after the mowing company, but not the landscaping. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I mean, they're only going to get, what assets that the company that caused the accident.
Right.
Unless they go in and find out that, you've intermingled and intertwined and, didn't dot every I and cross every T, because, lawyers are hungry and people are ready to sue for anything. So,
yep.
And a lot of people, they may have it separate, in the class a couple of weeks ago in Raleigh, we had a guy that had a pool company, and then he had his hardscape company. He had two separate, totally LLCs. He had the company that he owned that builds the pools, and then they're done. And then his hardscape company comes in. He's like, I keep those two separate. He didn't really say why he set that up. I'm sure it's exactly what we're talking about, but he said he's always had that. And it's very similar names. Let's say, it was Eric Jones Pools and then Eric Jones Hardscapes LLC. They were very similar names, but they were two totally separate entities. And like he said, if I wanted to get out of the pool business one day, it's gone. And if I wanted to keep, doing the outdoor kitchens and stuff, I was able, to separate it real quick and easy. But, and a lot of us are in like construction, or we do something a little bit different than the green industry. And I know people will separate just based on the different types of professions that we may be, providing. They're very similar, but they wanted them different just because of, namesake, or, if it's another trade that's actually, doing a little bit better than the green industry side. So I don't know.
Never straight.
But the business plan, it'll outline the basic concept underlying the business, what the problem will be solved, and describes how the business will execute its plan to solve the problem. Key elements for it is a logical statement of the problem and the solution, a significant amount of cold, hard evidence, and then the candor about the risk, gaps, and assumptions that might be proved wrong. And so it is very easy to jump into the green industry. Back in the day when my parents started, you really just couldn't walk into a bank and say, hey, I'm starting a landscape company. There wasn't dealerships that were doing 0% financing. You had to bring in the money. You had to purchase it. You had to save up and get it. Nowadays, like I said, you could decide one Monday morning you're going to have a mowing business, and by Tuesday morning you're cutting your first yard because you've gotten everything the day before. It could probably even happen after lunch. But what are some of the risks that new green industry pros or even seasoned pros are facing right now? Something that we've probably not planned for. What is our biggest thing right now?
Labor.
Very, very hard. Very hard to come by. And why is that?
Nobody wants to work hard.
They pays $19 an hour.
Do what? Who pays $19 an hour?
That's right.
Take away.
Okay, wait.
I saw Target
She
paying
said
$25
Chick-fil-A.
an hour. There's a sign up at our local Target, $25 an hour starting pay at Target. And guess what? They're having trouble too finding people. That's not a bad, that's hell, if I might quit and go to work for Target. 40 hours a week. At least get a couple days off. But we're all having that problem. And you know what? And it's been that way for years. It's just been one of those things. But what's something else that we really didn't plan for that's hitting us hard in the face?
Cost.
Fuel.
Yep.
And everybody keeps swearing that this is not really going to affect the green industry. I can just keep adding a fuel surcharge to my invoices that go out. You know, my customers are going to pay for this.
Fuel prices are high, but also equipment prices have gone up too.
Everything is.
Everything
Our
is.
materials, everything that we're purchasing that we're putting on these jobs. And yes, and unfortunately, a lot of these jobs, especially on the commercial side, you may bid on this job last year. You may bid on it 10 to 12 months prior to it being started. And by the time they get to you, look what's happened. How can you plan for that? Is there a plan? How do we overcome that? And I think this is a reason why a lot of people are deciding to get out of the business. They've got too many 3-year contracts that they can't go up on their price. I've had a guy that says they buy 10,000 gallons of fuel a week. Their supplier has now cut them down to 5,000 gallons a week. How is he going to maintain the properties that he has when his delivery trucks that come to their shop have cut him off to 5,000? How does he plan for that? Sure, we can go by the gas station and buy it, but you know, he's been getting off-road at a little bit cheaper price being delivered to his shop. And now they've cut him in half on what they can deliver. They're starting to limit the amount that he's getting. How is he going to get through this? When he says, Eric, I've got contracts, 3 years. I can't go up on my price. Guaranteed lock in. What does somebody do with that? Does anybody have a clue?
Call your lawyer. I don't know.
It is. It's a lot of hardships going around right now, and you're seeing it. I see it every day. Believe it or not, I have guys call me almost in tears. They're like, Eric, what do I do? What do I do? I've just purchased this new equipment. I've got these contracts that were locked in, and now fuel's this much. I can't get the help that I need. It's bad. It's scary. And I think I almost have the solution when it comes to employees. Because Grant, you live close to me.
Not too far, yeah.
Who else lives like in Forsyth, Guilford? Anybody in the triad area, what we call the triad? Probably just me and Grant.
Yep.
Grant, what community colleges do we have around us?
ACC, GTCC, Forsyth, Randolph, Rockingham Community College.
And you were a ACC graduate, right?
Yep.
And so, guys, your community college is probably your best source. But how many of you know your local community college horticulture instructors? How many of you visit the school? How many of you get in front of these students that are truly green to the green industry? They're there learning the science. They're learning the art of horticulture, but they still don't know you guys. And it takes a 5-minute introduction to the class each semester saying, hey, I'm Grant Allred. Here's my business card. Have a game or something they can play. Throw them a hat, throw them a T-shirt. Well, that young man or young woman has now looked up to you and will remember you. And when it comes time to graduate, they're calling the guy that gave them a business card and a T-shirt or a hat. And if you're more involved in their program, which me being a horticulture instructor myself, I would love for you guys to be there. I would love for you to pull up in your truck and trailer and say, hey, Eric, let me show the guys this skid steer. Let me show them this mini excavator. And we go out there and we walk around it, and you talk to them about it. You say, hey guys, who wants a part-time job? You know, who wants to help me who wants to help me this Saturday put in a hardscape? Yeah, I know you got class. What time you get done? Well, we're done every day about 12 o'clock, Mr. Allred. You hiring part-time? Would you not want a part-time student that's interested in the green industry? They've chosen that as a career path in college, but they don't know who we are. They don't know who to contact. And so they're looking at places like botanical gardens, nurseries that they see the advertisement for help wanted. They don't know who the landscape contractors are. They don't. And so many of these young kids want to do it. They want to do it. You just got to get in front of them. And if there's no community college, you got to be in front of the high school students the exact same way. We run some pretty cool equipment, guys. We have some cool toys. I call them toys that we get to play on every single day. They need to see this stuff. And you spending a little bit of time, you know, once a week, twice a month, so that they know your face and they know your company, they're going to want to work for you. Trust me. Trust me. And Grant, you're 100% welcome. Come by the college because you're one county over.
Yes, sir.
Come and see our students. I can finally say we've got a great group of students this summer. We had an influx of students for summer semester. Good group of people, good group of students, diverse in all age and backgrounds that are looking for employment. Yeah, we've had nurses that get burnt out, especially from COVID. They're like, I'm done. I'm done being in the medical profession. I want to be around plants. And they do a good job. They do a good job. Work-based learning, we have that. So, I mean, these kids could get credit working for you. And if it's work-based learning, you don't even have to pay them if you don't want to. But I suggest doing that because that lets them know to the student that you're making an investment in their education. So do it. Grant, come by our college. Everybody else, y'all need to get in. You need to Google your local community college and get in front of that horticulture class and know that instructor big time. That is part of business planning. How are you going to recruit employees? Find them. With planning and executing, factors affecting the extent of a plan. It provides a clearly articulated statement of your goals and strategies for your use. How many of you write down your goals that you see them every single day in your office, at your desk? What typically happens if you write down a goal?
Get it done.
It gets done. You see it every single day. And underneath the goal, there should be shorter goals that you're going to have to accomplish to get to that bigger goal. It's like a checkoff list. If you don't write it down and you don't see it every single day, you're going to forget what your goals are. But it imposes discipline on you, the business owner or entrepreneur, and the people working for you. They need to see the goals that you want to accomplish as well. It can serve as a selling document to be shared with outsiders and can provide a credible overview for prospective customers, suppliers, and investors. And it helps secure favorable credit terms from your suppliers. And it opens approaches to lenders and other sources that are out there. But guys, financing is so easy right now. I do see it getting a little bit tighter with everything happening in the markets. It may not be as easy to go and, get that $75,000 dump truck without having to put something down or have some skin in the game. But types of plans, the short plan and your comprehensive plan or long plan. But the first one, an abbreviated form of a traditional business plan that presents only the most important issues and projections. Almost like the cover sheet to the big comprehensive plan. which is your complete plan that provides an in-depth analysis of the critical factors that will determine your success or failure, along with all the underlying assumptions. So if you're new to the green industry, and there's so many people in the green industry, and if you're having to borrow money to do it from a bank, what do they typically want to see about you and your business? And it really has a lot to do with why we got in the business in the first place. Why did we get into the business? What drew you to the green industry? Was more than likely a niche that you created or a niche that you wanted to focus on. And we all may not be doing that right now because we typically take on, we're a jack of all trades a lot within the green industry. But the world of horticulture is so diverse, you could pick a niche market and focus 110% on it. You really could. I had a student graduate years ago, and I didn't like her. She was very cocky, very arrogant, but she was smart as ever. Straight A student across the board. But in our business and marketing plan, she came up with a business plan for doing annuals. That's all she focused on. She built a greenhouse, and when she graduated, she did exactly what her business plan. She built a greenhouse in her backyard. She bought a used NPR Isuzu box body. Her and her husband built the shelves in it. And guess who her clients were? People like us. She targeted every landscaper in her area, sent them direct mail, emails. She stayed on top of it and said, hey, if you've got maintenance contracts on these properties, let us design, install, and maintain your annual beds. She was thriving. And I remember one day driving by Stratford Road right there at 5 Points, seeing her do exactly that at a BB&T bank for another landscape contractor.
5 hours to get to.
She came up with a niche. And guess what? She had that business plan, and she was able to get the money for the greenhouse to buy the used truck and start her business. And it's grown into other things now just because of the niche. Grant, what was your niche getting into the business?
Well, we started out mowing a long time ago, 1995, and I got into hardscapes about 2000, 2001. And we just do both. I don't do irrigation. Early on, I did some irrigation, but we just don't do it every day. And I subbed that out. And we do hardscapes and landscapes, and I got a maintenance division. So
cool deal. Mark, what was your niche? What brought you to the industry?
I was in law enforcement and got into it on my days off.
Gotcha.
Just cutting grass. You do a good job, the next neighbor wants you.
Yeah.
That's how it went.
Yep.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being a cop, man. That's that is an honorable career field. Did you retire?
I'm not doing it now.
You retired?
No, I just got out of it.
Just got out of it.
It wasn't. I had 2 kids, Catholic school. There's no way I could pay for it. Being a
Gotcha.
cop.
Yeah.
I used to tell everybody it's pretty sad that I can make more money with a lawnmower than being a police officer.
Well, and dude, I feel you. You guys should be paid. I mean, or you firefighters, paramedics. I mean, you guys are the heroes. So it is a sad situation that that you had to do that. But thank you for doing it anyway, man.
Worked out right. Worked out great.
Amen.
Good.
Amen. Barry, what got you into the business?
All I do is high-end residential. Done it for years. Don't do any commercial, and just design, build, and have irrigation. Do irrigation as well, and have never had to advertise. Just said Western North Carolina, Asheville, Hendersonville.
Oh, cool.
Kiwi, South Carolina.
It's cool.
Good deal.
It's good.
I love Asheville. So
It's getting a little funky up there right now. I mean,
All right.
they're
so
going woke.
it's what they're going
Yeah.
woke.
They're going woke big time.
Oh, it's still a beautiful area though, man. That's
Yeah, the outskirts, yeah, they're great, but
Yeah.
the city's gone crazy. It's crazy.
yeah. We did a
But I'll
class.
shut up.
Oh, we did a class up there. My wife went with me that weekend, and so we went out the night before for dinner and stuff. And I couldn't believe the homeless people on the streets. Just, I mean, they were everywhere.
Yeah, I know.
So
Yep.
it seems like to be a little cold up there for the homeless.
Little San Francisco.
Yeah. But the different business models. Yeah, there's the revenue model, cost structures. There's required sources to grow the business, and then a business model risk. With your revenue model, it's whether you're doing a volume or unit-based service business, whether you have a subscription or membership-based business, how are you advertising it, and if it's a licensed-based business. And yes, we are licensed. Revenue streams can be from single opportunities or multiple opportunities. And with your revenue streams, again, single, the revenue comes from a single product or service. Are you focusing just on lawn care? Are you focusing just on hardscape? Multiple. That's why we talked about, hey, maybe having separate divisions. David brought up the fact of just using QuickBooks to actually separate anything, which is a good idea. Interdependent. Revenue comes from selling one or more products to generate revenue from other products. And then you can also have the loss leader revenue streams that are sold at a loss. And sometimes that will happen. And I know guys back in the old days would get the yard extremely cheap to mow, but then everything else that they got, they added to it. It's not a good way to do business, but there are people out there still doing that today. But another thing that really happens when you sit down to write a business plan is, who are your customers going to be? Do we want it to be everybody? Or are we going to focus on certain age groups, certain income levels? Mr. Cosgrove said there, he only does high-end residentials. So there are ways to target those individuals. There's ways to target individuals purchasing a new home, that both, the man and wife work. And so they don't have the time to actually do the lawn maintenance. And so you can target just new home buyers. How are these groups of people different from the general population? They're going to be attracted to more things or find you different ways. Where are the new people finding, or where are the younger people finding you at that may be interested in your services? What are some marketing ways that you would target these people? How are you going to go after that 28-year-old couple that's just bought a house? Where are they looking to find landscapers? Are they looking in magazines? Are they looking in the
web?
They're going to the web. They're going to the web. Yeah, John, you're right. They're going to Google you. They're going to Facebook you. They're going to find you that way. And so if that is the group of people that you're targeting, you need to make yourself very, very well known on those platforms.
Yep.
Where is grandma and grandpa's at these days? Which I never dreamed that they would be as many of them on this platform as that they are. But Facebook is a big, big thing for us, especially our Christmas lighting business, especially for our strawberry farm. It has just proven invaluable for us. But what events will trigger the need or desire for your type of product or service? Well, we're seasonal. Everything we do is seasonal. So, the first day of spring, the first warm day that we have in the winter, people start thinking about their landscaping. And when will these events occur? Can they be predicted? Yes, we can plan for these. It can all be incorporated into your marketing plan. And a marketing plan is a big part of your business plan. And how will customers make decisions on whether or not to buy your product or service? For one, you're a North Carolina licensed landscape contractor. You need to brag about that. You need to tell the world about that. And so many of us don't. And so many of us are even breaking the law. And how are we breaking the law as landscape contractors? What are we supposed to do when it comes to our license that very few people do? It's supposed to be on your license number is supposed to be on every single vehicle that you drive in your business. It's supposed to be on every single piece of paper that leaves your office. What's one thing, and what's the other thing that we're supposed to have and use on every piece of paper that goes out of our office? And 90% of the people I talk to, landscape contractors, don't even have it. What is it? It's our
Label.
seal. Do what, John?
I would say label, but
Yeah.
seal. Okay.
Our seal that'll say Eric Jones, licensed landscape contractor, 1201. We're supposed to have that, and that's supposed to be on every estimate, every invoice that goes out of your office, your seal stating that you're a North Carolina licensed landscape contractor. And it's supposed to be printed on every vehicle. So get your marketing guy, your company, and it can be in a little 3x4 print out that goes on the back glass, and you put your sticker there. And then people want to say, hey, we're out here competing with unlicensed people. Well, the general public doesn't know much about us because we don't even talk about it. We're the ones that need to educate. What will be the key decision factors for people purchasing your service? How will your product or service compare to that of the competition? Well, we're all pros. We know how to set ourselves apart. And will these differences be meaningful to the customer? They should be.
Yeah.
They should be.
Yeah.
And we may need to show them, how meaningful it can be. And are the differences even known to the customer? How many of y'all have bid on jobs and the customers were talking to unlicensed landscape contractors? We all have, haven't we?
Yep.
We
That
all
happens
have.
every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do we tell the customer up front that we are North Carolina licensed landscape contractors?
You should.
We should.
Yeah.
Should we also tell
Yeah.
them that it's the law and that the reason we're licensed is because you, the homeowner, are protected? We want to protect you because the licensing law is all about protecting the homeowner, not protecting us.
We should. I don't say that it's the law. I just tell them I'm a licensed contractor, but yeah.
Yeah. When they hire a licensed landscape contractor, they are protected. Licensing law is not for us, guys. It's for the general public. And so many consumers do not know that. And they don't even know that there is a landscape law, licensing law. And how can your product or service be exposed to your most likely potential customers? Well, we all know how we need to market our company. We do. Most of the time we don't have to. We all have got a backlog. A lot of us don't want to take on any more work. But there will be a time again when marketing will be beneficial. When it'll be beneficial. So we are at the end of the 50 minutes. Any questions, comments, concerns, jokes? Anything?
Don't work too hard. Don't work too hard.
I swear, man, what a day today.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to wake up to.
Thank God.
Yes.